Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bouk and Zoobie show on the world famous LIR.com, 927 LIR.com, and YouTube. I am John Kalaboukas, the Bouk, with my friend Paul Zubulake, Zoobie. So we have hot off the presses. Are there presses anymore? Hot off
Nah,
the
no more
internet.
presses. Right. The
That's
news
news.
travels a lot faster these days than it used to be, right? So,
Yeah.
yes, John, the Jets have made a couple of trades today. This is August 20th, Wednesday. We're taping this week. So they have acquired, John, two defensive tackles today. One unknown, pretty much an unknown guy, who's a seventh round pick of the Browns. Briggs Jawan, I think it's pronounced Briggs. And then a little while ago, from the Minnesota Vikings, they have acquired Harrison Phillips, who's played with the Bills and the Vikings. Actually, a guy that is reliable. If you look at his statistics, which I quickly did before the show, he plays every game, John. The last 3 years for Minnesota, he has played every game. It looks like in 2023, actually had a really good season. Not as much as good as last year. He's 29. It's a salary dump by the Vikings, and both trades, John, were for the infamous sixth round, seventh round pick swaps. So I don't think the Jets have any more sixth round picks anymore. So I don't know how many more deals like this they can make. But these are basically giving up nothing for a huge need for the Jets.
Do you know how much his salary was for? You have any
He,
idea?
I don't know his. He's got a reasonable salary, so it is a dump for the Vikings.
No.
And the Jets, I'm sure. I mean, the Jets signed nobody right in the off season, right?
Right.
So they're. I don't think they have any issues. Matter of fact, they're probably way below the cap. I honestly don't know. I'm sure you'll hear a lot of reports about that. But this is kind of. I mean, this goes into the no-brainer category. Good job by Darren Muji. Uh, I guess you can argue this should have been addressed at the beginning of the season, preseason, to make sure that the new guys, know the system and are going to be able to contribute opening day. Because John, this team's got to get off to a good start. Let's face it.
Yeah, and uh, Mr. Aaron there decided that he is not going to start any of his starters in this last preseason game. So they did not look that great against the Giants. Um, Dart actually looks very, very good. Nice arm, accurate. He looks like a leader. The things are looking up for the Giants as far as I'm concerned. I love the way that kid played.
Well,
Um,
I'll start of the whole Jackson Dart thing because ultimately, John, he did it against a bunch of
right.
backups. So I'm not knocking the kid. It's just the reality of the preseason. It's very difficult. So, we have not been talking on a weekly basis, and the NFL has a tremendous amount of things happen in a 2 week period of time.
Yeah.
So, the next time we spoke to everybody, the Jets didn't even play a preseason game. And I had talked about were they going to play the starters, and I was very happy to see that they did, but a little unhappy that in game two, Justin Fields he did not play a lot. And now with this announcement where he technically hasn't said the names of who's not playing, but I think it's extremely unlikely that Fields is playing. I don't think he's had enough work. They could say all they want in practice, but I still think, even though the preseason's watered down NFL, of course, I still think it's helpful. So, I mean, it's just so hard to evaluate it, John, and it's pretty obvious what the Jets want to do, right? 3 yards in a cloud of dust,
Yeah.
uh, ground and pound, whatever you want to whatever you want to call it. But reality will hit them when their opposition is going to take that away. And how are the Jets and Justin Fields going to react to real defense, real game planning, where they're just not going to give up the run. And they're going to force Fields to make plays down the field. He made the comment, I guess, this week talking about I'm just going to take what the defense gives me and dump it off if I have to. But if they are, if they're going to be showing two safeties close to the line of scrimmage and going man to man on the outside, he has to take shots down the field. They're just not going to win playing like a version of 1970s college football when teams ran the ball 70 times a game. So I'm definitely concerned about the offense. I mean, how could you not be? I mean, every Jet fan is. Um, I mean, they obviously want to play a game where they control the ball and they're going to punt a lot and hopefully, and then have the defense try to win games. It's definitely it's such a wild card going into the season, John. Ultimately, and we're going to find out September 7th. That's when we're going to find out.
Listen, we don't have any expectations. The one person who will be very upset if you know the one-on-one coverage is not taken advantage of is Wilson. He was moaning and groaning about the past couple of years that no one was really throwing to him, or it was, he was open so many times and he didn't get the ball. I mean, listen, at least we signed him now and he could moan and groan for the next couple of years. But you're right. We really do have to take advantage of that because half the time you see that Wilson is open, especially deep, but somehow the ball never seems to get to him. And Fields has a pretty good arm. It's not like he doesn't have a good arm. It's his accuracy that's in question.
Right, there's no doubt. We have seen so little in these two games where the first game it was just one series where they primarily ran the ball and he checked it down. And then in
Right.
the second game, he was 1 for 5 for 4 yards. So you can't evaluate it. But the point is, John, they have to try they have to try to set up the run with the pass because their opposition, there's no dummies in the NFL. They get it. They're not going to let Justin Fields beat them with his legs or with the running game.
Yeah.
We'll find out. We'll find out. Fascinating. Cannot wait. The bad news is, like you said, nobody's going to play on Friday night, and then we have the extra weekend off in between. So we're not going to see him. So that's kind of the bad news. But let
Yeah.
me good news, and then we'll definitely get to the Giants, folks. Um, the defense got guys back this week, and that's the big story because that's another thing I had mentioned
Yeah.
about the injury situation, specifically on defense with Quinn and Williams, and then obviously on offense with their rookie tight end Taylor. So the good news is, John, I guess Taylor did not have a high ankle sprain. He did miss a short period of time, and Quinn and Williams was back in practice. And
Yeah.
who else joined him, John? Jermaine Johnson off
That's
the pup,
right.
and Will McDonald, who missed the last preseason game with an injury, was also back. And that is crucial for this team. The Jets need their best players to be out there. So we're not going to see them in the preseason, and you can add Sauce Gardner to that list. You're not going to see him either,
Yeah.
who's I guess got kicked at practice. Right, they're another one of these. He's okay, but then he doesn't show up the next day, so you're always concerned there. The Jets have say 8 to 10 top level players on their squad. I would say that's probably in there. They
Hmm.
cannot afford to lose any of those guys, right? So that's like Quinn and Williams and Gardner and their two linebackers and McDonald, their O line. They're obviously a quarterback and Garrett Wilson. They probably could actually lose Brees Hall because Allen looks like he's going to be a really good back.
Yeah.
So
It's a good
that's
pickup.
that's the situation they're in. There's a handful of guys that just cannot lose. They can't.
Well, Allen is like a little tank. He just runs right over people.
Looks great. Doesn't he look great? So
Uh,
they have a
he
great
re-
1-2
he reminds you of
combination with those two.
he reminds you of a small Earl Campbell. Just runs right over people.
I mean, there's no doubt that they have two really good running backs. They really do. And the offensive line, John, they're young. And, everyone's making a big deal. Membu got, pushed around a little bit by the Giants D line. I thought that might have been a little overreaction. I don't think Membu played that much, but he's a rookie. So
Mhm.
you're relying on a rookie right tackle. He's going up against TJ Watt week 1. So and then Watt is a little undersized. You could argue that maybe they're just going to try to run at him because that's what you have to do to neutralize him on his pass rush.
Yeah,
So it will be a very interesting game to say the least. We'll have a lot more to talk about that, right, John, on our NFL preview show, which will be our next show. And we are going to do that, right? We're going to tape it on a Wednesday
that's
with
correct.
our good friend, Lieutenant Dan Lettis, chief Giant fan on the Bouk and Zoobie show. So for all you Giant fans who are checking out our content, we're going to talk a lot on that show. So please check it out. We'll have our under-overs, predictions, and maybe we'll throw in some fantasy stuff. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, I just wanted to let everybody know that. And then, of course, as always, we thank everybody for checking out our content, right, John, on youtube.com. And of course, the people who listen, which I want to mention something which I never realized, John, because we are on Spotify.com and we have been on that from day one. And of course, we appreciate being on their platform as well as the world famous LIR, of course.com, 927LIR.com. You can check out our program on that website as well and the music. But I noticed something, John. I'd actually I usually watch our show on YouTube.
Hmm.
But this week I actually listened on Spotify and then I noticed on my phone they had the YouTube show with the Spotify. So I have no idea how that
Oh,
happens, but it happened. So I
okay.
was laughing about that because I'm like looking and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm on Spotify, but I see the YouTube show. So just wanted to point that out there so the people who are listening on Spotify and probably just shutting the phone off while they're working out or something, you can check us out on YouTube. And for others who want to check us out on YouTube, Bouk and Zoobie, Bouk and Zoobie. And we are a word of mouth show, right, John? So as always, tell your friends.
And LIR actually hosted an event in Manhattan about a week and a half ago. It was on a Saturday where they had some old 80s groups. The most famous one was A Flock of Seagulls. Was that at the pier in
Really?
Manhattan? Yeah. And Mr. Sharp, who is the owner of LIR, was introducing all the acts and meeting them, uh, you know, uh, behind the scenes. I was invited, I couldn't go, but some other acts, I totally forgot the names again, sorry, but I remember Flock of Seagulls, and
Well, go on the website and check it out. I would guess
it was,
do they have content on the website yet?
yeah, it was packed. It was absolutely packed. It was a nice evening. The concert was about 5 hours. Five
Wow.
hours. Yeah.
There you go. I didn't know that. I didn't get my invite. Come on, what happened, Chris? What's going on here? How can you have a show without Book and Zuby? At least have one of them.
Well, he did offer for me to meet some of the groups behind the scenes. I
Hey,
just
John, I am sure the guys in the flock of seagulls are huge Jet fans. I'm sure they are. Or maybe they're Giant fans. So let's switch over to the
you
Giants.
don't know.
So we're gonna talk so much more football in 2 weeks because that's gonna be an exclusive football show. That's all we're gonna talk about.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get to the Giants. And one thing I just have to say this, you know how the media narratives pop up, and this one might be like a week old. And you're right, Jackson Dart has looked good in the preseason, no doubt. One thing I'm really impressed by him is how beautifully he throws his screen passes. He
Yes.
has beautiful touch on his screens. That's
Yes, he
something to
does.
watch. He's got poise, he's got moxie, but he is going up against backups. So that will go into this whole narrative in the past week or so where Jet fans are going to be regretting the fact that the Jets did not draft Jackson Dart. So let me put this out there. As a obviously a huge Jet fan, and John, I'll get to you on your opinion on this, but for a franchise in the last decade who could have drafted Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, do you think that we're going to show regret about not drafting Jackson Dart?
What? How about Lamar Jackson too? Throw that
Well,
in there.
that's in the same draft as Josh Allen.
Right.
Right. The whole league passed on Lamar. That's another story. They thought he was a receiver. So the NFL makes mistakes, John. But this whole idea that Jet fans have this regret. I mean, we're full of regrets, folks. I mean, just put it in perspective. And that is not a lie. They could have drafted Mahomes and Jackson. And then Allen and Jackson too. We'll throw him in there. Plus, there's many more, folks. So this Jet fan has no regret. The Jets were not going to take Jackson Dart under any circumstance. They weren't going to trade back up into the first round.
Yeah.
So this leads us, John, right, to the Giants. And what's their season going to be looking like? Because I think this is fascinating, and I can't wait to talk to Dan about it, is you're going to know quickly about the Giants because of the schedule. So there's no doubt that Russell Wilson is going to be starting. But you look at the first, I believe it's the first 4 games, they play the Commanders. They open up against the Commanders, and then they play the Cowboys, and those are both on the road. And then the home opener is against Kansas City, and then they play the LA Chargers at
Yeah.
home. So, I mean, you could argue the Cowboys, they're kind of a mess right now, maybe, but on the road, that's going to be a tough game. So they
Sure.
have 4 very tough games to open their season. So what will happen? And this is going to be a storyline that we're definitely going to be talking about, because when are they going to go to Dart then? I mean, if Russell Wilson is out there and they're 1-3, say after 4 weeks, which is actually not really disgraceful if you really look at the schedule. I
Hmm.
mean, what's going to happen? Are the fans going to be sitting there all year and being patient to see Dart play, or are they going to want to demand him playing early? So I think that's going to be obviously the number one storyline for the Giants.
Yeah. One thing I noticed during the Jet game, when Dart was out there, that it was, I'm going to say second half, where the coach actually called timeout because it looked like he was confused on a play. He was calling the wrong play. So they both, Dable and the offensive coordinator came out and they would speak, calmly to the kid. I mean, they weren't screaming and yelling at him. Um, so, he's learning. I, Russell Wilson, I would give him a couple of games and I would just let the kid watch. You're saying, oh, well, it was only backups. It's still the NFL. It's still
Sure.
the NFL.
Right, right.
So, I mean, if he's going to learn, I don't want him to be like, you know, our quarterbacks that we had, when we had Wilson and we just threw him right in there and he got clobbered and then he never learned. And I don't know, somehow he was scarred for life of looking over his shoulder every time the line broke down. But Dart's a little bit of a different quarterback. I really, I have to say, and I actually went and started looking at videos of him. He's a cool customer. He's really, and you mentioned about the drop off passes, the screen passes. He looked great on those. He really did.
Yeah, he's got a
He,
talent.
he looked like he was a veteran doing that.
Actually, to be honest with you, he's one of the best. I mean, and it's such a small sample size, but he's one of the best guys I've ever seen with that touch. He's got really good touch on
Yeah.
those. So he did it in the first game as well. So yeah, no, I think if that's why we'll wait for Lieutenant Dan's thoughts. How much rope are they going to give to Wilson in a because they're in such a bizarre situation, the Giants, with their head coach and their GM, where most people are saying they're both safe, and I think you had mentioned that last time we spoke.
Yeah.
But what happens if they're not playing well and the record is not they're not doing well? So that's going to be such a test. Now you would think with Russell Wilson and their defense, uh, that they should be a pretty good team. I mean, if you really look at it on paper, if they get reasonable play out of Wilson and their O line can kind of just stay in, they need that O line to stay intact. And Andrew Thomas, I think, came out and said something about his injury. Does he have less, Frank, or is it one of the foot injuries where he's saying how difficult it is to recover? So that's scary because they desperately need him. So if they can't protect the quarterback, I don't care who's back there, they're in big trouble. So yeah, no, I mean, if you're a Giant fan, you got to be optimistic. The Jet fans are just, I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, I just, I'm getting squeamish now on the under over, John, and I'll wait 2 weeks to make my call on this. But I mean, I think you could, let's just put it this, I'll put this out there. You could ask like 1,000 Jet fans if the Jets are going to go over 5.5. I'm telling you, I would say about 95% of them would probably say yes.
Yes, they would.
So I am getting thinking now, putting the thinking cap on at the Jets and their season and what it's going to be like. And I was definitely one of those people who said that that's definitely the case. But John, I just hate it when everybody's on the same page. I really do. So
Have
I'm
some
getting a little
optimism.
squeamish.
You
So
have to have
we'll
some
see what happens.
optimism. You have to have some optimism.
No, this is about picking the record. What I This is, I mean, of course, I don't want if say, John, I'm leaning a little bit to going under 5.5. And the reason is because of the youth of the O line, and the the every first time coordinator, first time head coach, and just again, if like I said about the roster, if they lose anybody of note, it could really hurt them. So I just and because everybody's one way, it kind of forces me almost to look the other way. And
Mhm.
that would be kind of a disaster. Hopefully it doesn't happen. So if I make that prediction, John, I'm not going to be sitting at home concerned about my prediction, as many of my predictions in the past have been wrong. So hopefully if I do that, and it's going to be based on the reality of what I see. And it's hard because you just don't know with the Jets. There's so many question marks. And that's another reason why I'm so concerned, because there's so many question marks and there's a lot of ifs. If this happens, if that happens, so when you have a lot of ifs, it could go bad. And hopefully it doesn't, man. I hope it doesn't happen.
6-11 would be bad.
But it's over. It's an
Two
over.
and 2-15. That's really bad.
Well, yeah, if I go under, it will be 5-12. I'm not going lower than 5 wins.
5-12. Okay.
So I'm not saying that's my prediction. I still get 2 more weeks.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think
You
these
get two
moves. I
more weeks.
think
You get two
Harrison
more.
Phillips. That's a nice move. Hopefully he still has something left in the tank, and he's going to be motivated. Because let's face it, he's going from the Vikings, where you would think they were definitely a playoff contender. Now they have a rookie quarterback, de facto rookie in McCarthy. So is he going to be like a shell shocked that he's going to the rebuilding Jets? So that's going to be interesting to see. I hope he's motivated because Quinnen needs help, and they had enormous holes there. So uh, I'm optimistic about the GM and the coach because they're not like they don't have their heads in the sand, John. They know what the weaknesses are and they're trying to address it. I don't know why they didn't address it in the draft, but they didn't. So yeah, let's see how it plays out.
Yeah. And there's one other. It's a giant connection, but our man Daniel Jones,
Yes,
starter for the Colts,
John.
and
When
many
we
people are saying, are they doing that to tank the season to get
John,
a real quarterback?
I don't know what they're doing now. I don't have an issue with them starting Daniel Jones. But the fact that the coach basically came out and said that he was going to be the starter for the season, why say that?
Yeah.
First, it makes Richardson, the high draft pick, kind of tank it out. And they're the ones who picked him that high. I think I mean, I don't know if we had a show on when Richardson got picked in the top 5, but I know I was like, no way, no way. He's such a project, and it's turning out that way. So, but to say that they're just going to stick with Jones, what happens if they're 0-4? They're going to stick with Jones? It's not. It's so the coach is going to lose credibility by doing that. So why can't he just say we're going to start Daniel Jones week 1 and we'll see how it plays out? That's it. Why make this proclamation about playing the season?
Insane. It's
It's
insane.
ridiculous. Bad
Insane.
job. They will not be one of my 7 AFC teams. I'll tell you that much.
No, no, no way. No way.
And the Jets won't either. Okay, after the mistakes of the last 2 years. So anyway, another couple of things about the Jets because there's another narrative, and again the coach, and I hope he doesn't fall into this trap. But quickly, there was something out today. John Gruden, I guess, does like a YouTube show. I don't know if you're aware of that. I've seen it before. He actually they showed it, and I don't know. It's obviously old because it was talking about it was pre-draft. I never even saw this, where
Hmm.
his keeper was Arian Smith, who the Jets took in the 4th round, the
Oh,
receiver.
wow.
And it was funny because he was saying, like, because they showed the tape and it was obviously before the draft. And he was saying that, okay, he plays at Georgia. He was at my camp. I guess Gruden has some sort of a camp that guys go to. And he was saying about how he can just blow the top off of the defense going deep because of his speed. And despite the fact that he had a lot of drops in college, he's been working so hard on improving his catching ability. So I just wanted to throw that out there for the Arian Smith watchers. Because, John, the way I look at it, like I said, they've got to take shots down the field, put this kid on the field. Now, what you cannot do is put him out there every 10th play or, every other, say once in a while, because what's going to happen when he runs on the field, John?
Of course.
Immediately the other
Of
team is going to react. So
course.
they have to use them a lot where if there's some sort of surprise that they can maybe get him deep. So I just wanted to point that out. John Gruden knows a hell of a lot about more about football than I ever will, so I'll go there. I mean, a lot of people don't like the guy, but who cares? He knows football. So that's going to be interesting to see. And then just one last narrative thing I have to talk about where the coach this concept of noise around the Jets. This is like a mini rant, John. This that there's noise about the media chip in the fans, right? And I didn't read the article because I didn't even want to read it because Aaron Glenn talking about the noise around it. Aaron, please, you got to understand. This team has not made the playoffs in 14 seasons, the longest streak in professional sports. They have not been to the Super Bowl, and of course he knows this, since 1969 season, Jan of 1970. John, for those who can't do math quickly, that's 55 years. No playoffs for 14 seasons, no Super Bowl appearance in 55 years. And they're talking about there's always noise around this franchise. Why do you think there's one? Why do you think there's noise? And then two, you should be grateful that anybody cares about this franchise anymore. I mean, John, I'm sorry, I can't hate this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually did read that article,
Okay.
read about what he was saying, and I was just shaking my head. The, part of your job as a coach is how do you communicate with the media because that's part of the job. I mean,
That's how you communicate with the fan base. That's how the
that's
fans.
correct. That's correct. So to make so-called enemies, where he could be making enemies right now if he doesn't want to give them answers to questions or being uh, arrogant and stuff like that. He's going to end up making his own narrative, and it's going to be a negative narrative pretty quickly.
Right. I agree.
So he better watch himself, especially with the New York media. They're giving him a honeymoon, as they
Yes.
say, but the honeymoon's going to end very, very quickly when he starts losing games and then he starts snapping at them. ooh, he's going to learn really fast.
I know, and it's nothing's going to save him from that because it's all about wins and losses. No one's going to care. No one's going to care. We talked about this, John, numerous times about him getting caught in the media trap. He should not be talking to national media. I don't know who wrote the article, but I know where this is coming from. He's got to ignore this stuff. You don't pretend that the national media knows what they're doing and the local guys don't. It's just the reality on the field. Because they asked him who was playing in the second preseason game, right? And he said the plan is the plan is the plan or something, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
Aaron, just say some guys are going to start and then move on. Like you said, there's no reason to have this attitude with them. That's a simple question.
Yeah, yeah.
Or just say I'm not going to disclose it. But don't the plan. So I was like the plan is the plan is the plan, and I'm like, well, that's a well thought plan. So I mean, I want to love Aaron Glenn, and I like because he's no nonsense and he tells it like it is, and I really like that. So there's a lot of positives, but dude, don't get caught in this like noise because how can you not? How can you think that there's not going to be noise about this franchise? It's just where I mean, he knows that he knows. It's I mean, if they were, I mean, John, if they this is this whole thing with just keeps on coming back, especially with the Jets. It always ends up being about the fans every season since I've been a fan. 55, whatever the years, 50 years we'll say, or 50, whatever it is, 52, if you want to give it to me. It's not, it's just,
Well,
it's ridiculous, right?
you
It's
know
just
what Aaron Glenn needs?
a history lesson.
He needs a guy like Jay Horowitz from the Mets, where Jay used to actually stand next to his people. Anytime they were being interviewed, so they wouldn't say a foolish thing. He really needs coaching on that. Is I mean, they have it in the NFL where they have how to handle your money, watch out for loose women and all this other stuff, and they have media relation training. He needs it, and he actually needs someone, like I said, with Jay. And I remember when I was there, he would anytime any of the players were being into, especially Gooden or Strawberry, he was right there next to him and diverted the questions, moved respectfully. And he also
Protect.
did it with Davy Johnson too. So it wasn't like they were loose cannons half the time. They weren't. He was there on top of them.
Right.
So
So,
Aaron Glenn needs something like that because I'm telling you, there's going to come a time where they get a bad loss and he just goes off and he's going to be annoyed. He's going to start snapping. He's going to lose the media right away. And then they're going to start attacking him.
well, John, I hopefully somebody's hooking him up with the Bouk and Zoobie show. We're old, grizzled veterans of this team, been through it all, seen everything imaginable, and I think I'm giving sound advice to the coach. And this whole idea that the fans have anything to do with it. John, you and I have been Jet fans for 50 years, and we've never fumbled. We never dropped the ball. We never did anything. So no fan has anything to do with the outcome of any professional sport.
Yeah.
Zero. Okay, they could, oh, that, it was so loud and it helped us win. Okay, you could argue that. But it's the fans don't make the players make bad plays. It has nothing to do with it. Now, should fans boo? I'm not a booer. I mean, it was like the time I booed was I was probably younger, but like when Joe Walton was on his last year, where we couldn't take anymore, or Bruce Coslet was on his last year, or they hired Adam Gase, and like these ridiculous things at this franchise,
Or Rich Kotite.
or Rich Kotite, of course. How could I forget the immortal one? So I just don't, and we just don't want to hear it, man. We get it, like you've said numerous times, John. That since we've been talking about this season, We just want to see progress. That's all we want to see. We're not expecting miracles, man. That's it. No big deal. Hold guys accountable and go out there and play as hard as you can. And if you lose a game because the other team's better than you, there's nothing wrong with that. Just
That's right.
don't beat yourselves. And hopefully they're going in the right direction with that because I do have confidence that they're actually going to be a pretty respectable team, I should say. The problem is there's a lot of ifs and starts at with quarterback. So that's probably overkill on the Jets this week. Sorry about that. I had to get to that stuff.
Well, I wanted to make a recommendation to you and to our audience about a book that I read in a span of 4 days, and it's over 300 pages. So that's pretty fast reading for me because it was such an interesting book. It just came out called Turf Wars, and it's by the NFL Player Association former, I'll call him president or player representative,
Whatever he was, the head.
DeMaurice Smith.
Correct. Yep.
And he represented the players for many years, so he actually had to address the Bounty Gate with the New Orleans Saints, if you remember,
Sure.
where, Deflate Gate with Tom Brady, the Ray Rice. We talk about. I just wrote it down. The whole thing with the Deshaun Watson contract, and it was just really in-depth, inside information. The one thing that I was surprised is how much information, inside information he gave. I mean, these were private conversations. These were private negotiations. And the one person that really he trashed really badly was Troy Vincent. He basically called him a traitor to the players because he was competing against Troy Vincent for the position. And then
Yes.
when Troy Vincent didn't end up getting it, he went to the owner's side and player development.
Right. You went to go work for the right.
Yeah, so and basically he was calling him a spy because the guy was always in the locker room. I mean, he totally trashed Troy Vincent. The I don't know if you were aware of this when Hamlin from the Buffalo Bills, when he had that whole incident on the field, and it ended up that the players got together on both teams and decided that they didn't continue to play that game. Goodell actually called the player rep. Actually, DeMaurice Smith called Goodell and says, "We got to stop this game." Goodell didn't say anything, spoke to the owners, and the owner says, "No, the game has to continue." But meanwhile, while they were having all these phone calls, the players on both teams just decided not to play the game. Uh, he went after the owners as just, the only person he actually complimented as an owner was Robert Kraft, and he said that because the guy came up, as blue collar guy, and he worked his way up, and the others he just looked at them as spoiled brats, the rest of the owners. So it was really an interesting book. I recommend it highly. Like I said, I don't normally read that quickly. Maybe I'll read 10 or 15 pages a day if I have a chance. I was devouring this book.
What's so funny is that you had told me about this, and I have not heard anything about this book. So when did it come out? Is it this?
Just came out.
Just came out. Not
Just came out.
talked about it at all. It's amazing. It's
Yeah,
amazing. I have not heard anything about it. So I'm glad it's good for our fans out there. Check that book out. Because, yeah, I mean, the NFL is, I mean, my God, John, it's the popularity of the league is just going, just like, it's crazy how popular it is. Yeah, no, we can't wait for it to start. Yeah, I don't know. We didn't really go around the league at all. It's probably not worth it. I don't know if anything popped out that you saw. Uh,
Other than the Brian Flores case was allowed to proceed now.
okay, all right,
Yeah,
that's out
they
there.
gave,
I don't know where
yeah.
that's headed, but who knows? I mean,
Well, he did have something to say about Gruden, uh, Mr. Smith, because there.
oh, he did make it. Okay,
So, as in part of the book, it's not really stated, but it's implied that the league is racist. He's saying it, that the
okay,
league is racist.
right.
And that Gruden, that wasn't the first time that he said something crazy about a black.
Derogatory or something derogatory. Right?
Yeah. He actually said some really bad things about him. And it was, when you read the book, it's pretty offensive stuff because they have it written, they have emails. John Gruden it wasn't a one up thing, according to Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith says that Gruden was the biggest racist going.
All right. Well, I mean, that's tough when you're throwing around those accusations. I mean, say the
No,
I
no, you got to remember, this guy worked in the Justice Department. He's a big lawyer. He's not just any old person here.
right, right,
So
right.
he's a lawyer. He's not going to make these claims without proof. I was stunned because
Hopefully, yeah.
I actually thought, and what he went after mostly after the Gruden incident was all the black announcers that were sticking up for Gruden because he expected it to be the other way. And the only reason he believes that they stuck out is that they want to continue getting paid and not getting fired. So,
Yeah. It's John. It's a slip. When people write the tell-all books, he's basically blasting himself out of the league, right? He's been out of the league. The concept that the league is racist. I mean, what? That's like first of all, that's just like a terrible word to call anybody. And now, unfortunately, in 2025, it gets thrown around like it's just nothing. And to say that even okay, there's a big difference. Okay, you could argue this to the cows come home, right? John Gruden is a racist, but a pure racist wouldn't have anything to do with any black person.
right,
So how
that's
could the guy
correct.
be coached for his whole life?
That's correct.
So,
That's
but then
correct.
is he insensitive and he says stupid things and he thinks that other people aren't offended? That I can completely believe because let's face it, John, locker rooms, there's a lot of this stuff going on. We know from kids, right? We grew up we were lucky, right? We grew up with all
Yeah,
types of people. So
yeah.
this stuff, making fun of each other was very common back in the days, right?
Yeah.
So now it's just getting to this point. So I have a little problem when he's making this blanket
He's
statement.
implying
Gruden
he's
things different.
implying that but he did, he used the word plantation a couple of times in the book. So
No, no,
he
I'm
was
just saying that I'm not saying there hasn't been things that somebody concerned is convinced that this is a racist thing that somebody said or did. But to say like there's an institutional racism in a sport that is dominated by black athletes for the most part, I just think that doesn't tell both sides of the story. So it just, I mean, you could say a lot about the NFL and the
it's an
way.
interesting book. I'm going to leave it at that. It's an
No, no,
interesting book.
we
If you have
go
a
on
chance,
forever. But
read
let's
it.
face it, there's one color that the NFL likes, and it's green. That's their favorite color.
Yeah, that's
That's
right.
what motivates the NFL. You
That's
can
right.
argue that they've used the black athletes to make the green. So, I mean, hey, that's what it's all about, John. Have an open debate. Bouk and Zoobie. We're not afraid to talk about stuff like this. I'm glad you brought it up. And you gave a little hype to a book. So we'll see. Maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah, yeah.
All
So
right.
where do you want to go? You want to go NBA really quick?
Very quick, John, because we got to get to MLB. And let's say, what do you got? NBA. I didn't. What do you got? Let me see. Give it.
Trailblazers were sold for $4 billion.
You love telling this stuff. You love it.
The
Yeah,
Portland Trailblazers, $4 billion in Portland.
John.
Matt, it's crazy. It's
You have
every time I say this, and who bought it? The Carolina Hurricanes owner bought
right. doesn't even live in Carolina, by the way. He's from
Yeah,
Texas,
right,
right?
right. He's all over the place.
Right.
So he
So,
owns two teams in states that he doesn't even live in.
so John,
Amazing.
these sports teams make so much money on an annual basis, and that's something that we discussed right recently, a couple like I should maybe a couple months ago now, about how the Marlins are making all this money and they're not spending it on their players. This is why these franchises, folks, are worth so much money because
Yeah,
they're making guaranteed money every year, and we're not talking about 100 grand, right? We're talking about many more zeros after that, and that's why these John. It's just you just it's a valuation of a company. These people aren't idiots, and there's other people in competition, and that's why these sports teams are going for such crazy numbers because they're just growing businesses and they're globalizing at the same time. So yeah, you're going to keep hearing this, John, and you can also argue, $1 billion ain't what it used to be when, the country's deficit is like 40 trillion.
I
So,
know.
you have to put it in perspective, right?
And one other thing, a player that we both liked very much just retired, John Wall, retired, officially retired.
I don't know if I really liked him, but okay, whatever. I
Oh,
mean, he
okay. Oh,
kind of
I
an
don't
underachiever if
know.
you think about it. Got
I,
paid and right, and great,
yeah,
really good player, but John
34
got
years
paid.
old. 34. He got paid.
He
He
got
got paid.
paid. That was it for him.
He got paid.
He didn't care after that. So not much. So there's nothing on your Knickerbockers, right? Didn't they do? Well, I want to say they did something, but did they re-sign Shamit, or am I
No,
losing?
not yet. They're thinking
Not yet.
about signing him. They're thinking.
Oh, I guess they named a couple of assistant coaches. I think that may be why I saw the
Yeah,
Knicks.
I didn't pay attention to that. Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Well, we
yeah.
will not pay the
You know
NBA,
how many assistant
NHL.
coaches there are on the Knicks? I mean, they have two rows of them behind the bench. It's amazing how many coaches they have.
No, there's never a limit to amount of coaches in the NBA. Yeah, the winter sports, we're gonna obviously we'll talk about them when before their season starts, no question. We'll have previews on both leagues. We'll slip that in. MLB will be ending and they'll be starting, so it'll be a good one. So, John, we got to get to it. All I could tell you is, when you're a baseball player, I don't know what happened and what year it was, and when guys just said, "I'm never gonna slide feet first ever again." Never thinking when you expose your hands and you're a catcher, this could be a problem. And for the Metropolitans, I guess it's a mixed bag. I guess it's a little happiness, a little sadness, but we're going to get to all of it, John, with baseball, with Boo.
Yeah, Mr. Alvarez. I hope he learns from this. Please don't slide head first.
When you're a
So
catcher.
and this time, as we spoke about 2 weeks ago, I said he looked a lot better. He was hitting with power. He really was doing very, very well since he came back. And then to have this happen and he's going to need surgery on the thumb. They're hoping in 10 days that the swelling goes down and that he could play with it. I don't know how, but we'll see. Just when the Mets were getting their hitting back, which Mr. Lindor, how's that for timing? When I said
Good
it two
job
weeks
by
ago,
folks who
got to
don't
lead
know.
off.
John did mention last show, that was 2 weeks ago, that Lindor would get hot. He did, and he has. Thank God for that. So yeah, keep going. Sorry about that.
Yeah, uh, the fact that the Mets are only one game ahead of the Reds is pretty pathetic. I mean,
I think it's two on the loss, right?
two in the loss column, correct.
Okay.
Uh, Pitching is looking better. The fact that they're celebrating that Clay Holmes made it through 5 innings is to me laughable. It's like, oh, he pitched a wonderful game. What one? He pitched half of a game. You mean a wonderful game? 5 innings again.
Oh, please. Well,
Uh, Thank God Peterson. He looked great last night.
and of course, who are you forgetting? Come on, we should have started with the kid.
Oh, Mr. McLean. Yes. He
Wow.
looked great. Yes, he looked great. I was at the game. I invited you, but you could not make it. So I attended the game. His curveball was amazing.
Outstanding, right?
Oh, wow. Wow. I mean, that thing was moving. It was dipping. I mean, great stuff. Great stuff. The fact that the entire crowd was booing Carlos Mendoza when he was taking him out. I was one of them. I went nuts. I'm like, are you kidding me? I said, now you're going to bring a guy in that just throws fastballs, and you have a hitter coming up that is a dead fastball hitter who almost hit it out of the park against Gregory Soto. When I saw him hit it, I'm like, oh my God.
John.
It reminded me, by the way, it reminded me of a time when you and I, for some reason, you were sitting with your family, box seats, first base side, when Dwight Gooden was pitching. And somehow I had box seats, but I was like separate section, a little bit further back. And I remember when Davy Johnson went to to take Dwight Gooden out, you raced because back then you couldn't go across with the box seats. You had to go all the way up the aisle and come back down. You actually raced up, and all you said to him is, "You go, I hope they lose." You were so angry. I think we were what 15 or 16 years old, but I'll never forget that. So when he was taking him out, that popped into my head because here I am as a 61-year-old screaming, "Are you out of your mind?" So
Well, I will say, being at home, I knew it was going to happen because he threw 91 pitches and
right,
his high for the year at AAA was 95.
right, right,
So I knew he was coming out. I knew he was coming out shortly. And like you said, Soto, who by the way should be actually pitching now later in the games, I
right,
think. Don't you
right.
think? That's
Yeah,
another element. And but overall, the and you talked about it, John. The stupidity of the Mets. Just it's just so crazy. I think he's 23 or 24 years old, McLean.
yeah. He's
He's not
24.
young. Protecting 1 year of arbitration and free agency eligibility to not have him up in July, it's ridiculous. I could, if he's 20 or 21, all right, I get it. That's they don't want to do that. He's an older guy. He's not young. What's the difference? They needed him. So I mean, now only time will tell between now and the end of the season. I mean, he went into the sixth inning in his first start,
Right?
which outside of Peterson, nobody's doing. And it's just we've talked about this ad nauseum, and it's gonna. And John, I had told you the first game with Helsley, not the first game, but the game where I said that I think I texted you right, and I said Diaz should pitch the eighth and the ninth inning,
Yes,
and
yes.
he brought Helsley in the eighth, and he of course blew it. Now then the next time, what happened? Diaz pitched the eighth and the ninth.
That's right.
So, what do you think about this? Because that is not sustainable. So, what the heck? I mean, the Mets are going nowhere unless Helsley gets his act together. I hate to put all this pressure on the one guy, John, and you can argue if they don't hit, they're going to, we all get that. But if you look at it right now, the guys, even Nimmo's coming back, he's doing better. Soto's kind of heating up a little bit. And obviously Lindor, as you mentioned. Who are like this is a huge factor now that because they're not getting length, Helsley has to pitch the eighth inning, John.
Yes,
I
he
mean,
has.
in the playoff situation, and if he can't get if his head is in the wrong spot, I mean, what do you think? Are they gonna use him, or you think they're not gonna use him? What's gonna happen?
Well, they did use him in the eighth inning. The game you were referring to, I was at that game where that Diaz pitched the last two innings, And the reason why I think that he did that particular day is they had lost 14 out of 16 games.
No, but the
So
week
it was almost
earlier,
like it was a must-win game for them.
John, but a few days, a week earlier, whatever it was, that's when they could have did it because it was when Diaz hadn't pitched in 6 days, and he
That's correct.
still, even though Helsley was pitching badly, he still put him in the eighth inning. It was a one-run game,
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
blew the save, and they lost the game. So, but I'm saying, and he hasn't pitched in a right in a tough situation since, right? Or did I miss something? Maybe he did. I
No,
don't think
no,
he did.
they brought him into a game that they were ahead a couple of runs. He
Right. I'm talking about John.
scoreless eighth, but it wasn't a pressure situation.
Correct. I'm talking about the 3-2 game. The Mets are winning, and one of their 6 inning pitchers goes 5 innings or six or whatever. How are they going to get to Diaz? Because he cannot pitch. And I said, I've already on the record saying he's going to do some crazy stuff. But Helsley he has to fill that role.
Yes, he
And if
does.
he cannot, what are they going to do? I think he basically holds the Mets season in his hands because if he can get his act together, then they got a legit shot, John. And
Yes,
this
they
is
do.
going to bring us to the Book meter because I want to hear the latest Book meter. But I think that's the key for them that 10 the massive panic about the Mets having a chance to win it all. If Helsley can get it together, I'm taking that number down a little bit. I think they actually can have a chance. What do you
Yeah,
think?
you you said it correctly. Is Helsley needs to get his act together. What I've been seeing about his pitching is, yes, he has that overwhelming fastball. He's throwing it 102. I mean, the guy has a great arm. Problem is that if you're going to throw that pitch, it cannot be directly over the plate because these guys can hit it. That's the bottom line. His slider, he's not using it. I'm sure that Hefner actually knows him pretty well from previous stuff, so he knows Helsley. This was before he was with the Mets, so hopefully he can work things out. But if starts using his slider, then he's going to be unhittable because
Well, that's the problem. He can't get it over, right? He's been
he's
hanging them. He
been laying it over, and then he goes, and then of course when it's not working, the slider, what is he going to go back to? His fastball. But if your fastball is going straight over the plate, you're going to have these guys clobber you.
No, if you
So,
can't throw your breaking pitches for strikes, you're in big trouble, and he can't.
and
And when
and
he's
we are
getting
going
it
to be
going,
getting,
he's hanging it. So
I mean, and we are going to be getting McGill back
yeah.
pretty soon. So McGill goes to the bullpen.
But he's not. You cannot. You're going to put him in the eighth inning of a
No,
3-2.
no, no, no,
I'm
no.
saying.
What you're going to do is have someone like him go in the sixth or seventh inning. Then you move a guy like Soto up. Let Soto come in. I want to say something about Mendoza managing. I know I've said it before. He has not been managing well this year at all. Uh, the prime thing, I think I may have texted you about it, leaving Raley in to get. It was clear watching it on the TV that the man didn't have anything that night. Yet he kept. It was like a Davy Johnson move. Oh, we'll hope and pray that he does well. The guy gave up 4 runs in an instant. Why did you leave him in there? The game was within the reach. Some really bad managing this year. I'm telling you, Mendoza has cost him a couple of games this year. Just bringing in the wrong people at the wrong time, or not even recognizing that his pitcher doesn't have it. If they don't have it, get him out of there. What are you waiting for?
Well, they got hundreds of
He
pitchers.
waits for them to be in to start losing. If you see that he's having trouble, get him out. Take him out. Really was doing great, but that night,
You didn't have it.
right away, should have been removed. Right away.
Well,
So
so luckily, I guess for the Mets, and I'll depress you here quickly. The Mets are actually down 5-1 tonight, and they have scored three in the top of the sixth. So it is in the top of the seventh. I hopefully, John, you weren't taping the game. They are down 5-4 to the lowly Nationals. And Senga, John, 5 innings.
5 innings. How many
6 innings,
runs did he give up?
4 runs. He gave them all.
4 runs.
I guess one was unearned. And of
Right.
course, Rogers came in, who's pitching basically every day. John, Senga pitches every 6th day, and he can't go more than 5 innings. I mean, come on.
But you know what was really weird is the first 2 innings of this game, which I was able to watch.
Okay.
He had thrown, I think, a total of 20 pitches. So
Yeah,
the first 2 innings, they were easy innings for him.
John, they, the Mets organization is just it's going to drive us insane with this. So Peterson, that was great last night. Huge comeback because he had struggled, right? So we
Yeah,
knew if Peterson can't pitch well, they're in trouble. So it's a mixed bag, right? So okay, let's do the numbers. Winning the World Series, is the Book meter still at 10 out of 10? Panic, or are you going to change at all?
it's still 10.
Still 10 for the championship.
Still 10.
Playoffs, I think you were a 5 out of
I
10.
was a 5.
And where are you now?
I'm still a 5.
5?
Still a 5.
All right. So,
Because I don't believe that the Reds or any other team that's behind us have enough talent to keep up with us.
well, that is true. And that may lead to something else, but we're going to save that because the same thing across the boroughs to the Bronx, where the Yankees were basically reeling the last time we spoke to everybody. And we did mention, though, luckily for us, that because Aaron Judge wasn't playing, that's a huge factor. So somehow they hit 9 home runs last night.
Yeah,
And the
they did.
Yankees have righted the ship a bit. But, what's your view? They're definitely looking better for the playoffs. We're not doing book meters for the Yankees, but what's your thought about the Yankees?
As I said, the American League is very weak. The Yankees have enough talent to get to the World Series. Who's going to really get in their way? If they get pitching, if they get hitting, they can go to the World Series. They're not going to win the World Series. Sorry, Yankee fans. I know every year you think that they're going to win, and every year I have to tell you they're not going to win. Uh,
All right. So,
again, the Yankees. It's just not a strong league. It's just not. I mean, when you have the Guardians still in the race, and you still have the Royals in the race. I mean, these were the teams that the Yankees beat to go to the World Series last year. Was that really that tough for them to get to the World Series last year? Now this year they're saying, oh well, the Astros or you know
Toronto, right?
or the Blue Jays. It's hit or miss with a lot of these teams. It's hit or miss. It's not like the National League where teams are loaded. And speaking of teams, very quickly, 2 major injuries. One, Wheeler, Zach Wheeler of the Phillies, just had surgery to remove a blood clot in his shoulder.
We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, right? We said that
Yeah,
it was hot off the presses that they
yeah,
held out.
and
It turned out to be something. Yeah,
that's what happened to him is very, very dangerous.
sure.
The fact that they were able to catch it before, and he was still pitching with it, but he just felt like tightness, and it's good that they found it because that could have been a really very, very serious health-wise for him. And then another guy, Felix Bautista from the Orioles, who came back from Tommy John surgery and pitched this year, looked like his old self, is now going to miss not only this year, but next year. Another arm injury. I mean, it's an epidemic with these arm injuries, just an epidemic.
Yeah,
It
it's
keeps
too bad
going
for the
on and on and on.
have now gone back on hard times after some hope there for the old Baltimore fans. So, John, there's only one subject left to get to. And I'm sorry. The game that we loved as children, where I would run up and down the stands to yell about baseball. Those days are so long gone from me because as I've mentioned many times, it just doesn't do it for me like it used to.
Yeah.
Ghost Runner is like a perfect example. Balanced schedules. you know, just absolutely destroying the history of the game. So how in the world is what is going on with this guy Rob Manfred? Who has died and left this guy in charge of destroying the great game? So we got to hear about it because I know it's worthy of the rant of the week.
Yeah, very, very concerning to me. And I agree with you. Who put this man in charge? The fact that, okay, I understand you want to expand.
That's
How
different.
about first of all, how about taking care of the teams that are struggling right now? Okay.
Right.
You have the Rays that were just sold. Okay. Need a new stadium. Where's the stadium? We don't know. Miami Marlins, who have a wonderful stadium but no fan base, struggling. You have, I mean, you're talking about the Las Vegas A's. Okay, are they going to get? What are they putting a 30,000 seat stadium in Las Vegas? But I don't know if it's actually going through. I mean, it always seems like they're going to start or stop, or somehow Las Vegas or Nevada is going to give them money and then they take away the money. How about straightening those teams out? Do they deserve to be in these areas? I don't, Tampa hasn't shown that they deserve a team. Miami hasn't shown that they deserve a team. Pittsburgh, another team. Beautiful stadium. They have a fan base. Do they ever spend any money? Never.
Yeah, bad owner. Yeah.
So how about straightening these teams out? No, but we want to talk about Nashville now. We want to talk about Portland. And along with these ideas, he decides now, well, if we have 32 teams, we're now going to make 8 divisions and realign teams. So I think we had this conversation with Mike Vaccaro where I made the statement, and this is 2 years ago, where we were talking, and I said, and we were talking about all this balanced scheduling, and I said, we're not going to have an American or National League. And he goes, that's the way where it's heading. Is that this, I said, there's no reason to have American or National League. So if you
And
look
why?
at realignment,
Why? Why get
realignment,
rid of the traditions of the game that's been around for over 100 years?
right,
I don't understand. Are the fans demanding that? He's trying to claim that it's travel related. Is
right.
he kidding me? Like he's like they make so much money in these sports. Now they're worried about they have to like cut down the travel. What is this like? He's worried about climate change or something, Manfred. I mean, where does he get off doing this? It's insane.
Yeah, but it's not logical what he's saying, because if he's talking about travel, I can understand if it was the old way of doing things, and and you're only playing teams on the East Coast, that's one thing, but you're still going to play if you're going to have the balanced schedule. That means you're still going to have to travel to California and all these other places. What kind of stupidity is this?
I guess he
Let,
means
let, let's read
change.
off this. Let's read off this stupid idea, and really and he wants to do this before 2029. He goes, that's what I want to leave my legacy with. I said, no, you don't want to leave that as your legacy. So this is the one that bothers me the most, is the Eastern Conference or Eastern Division. So they have the Phillies, Red Sox, Yankees, and Mets. Uh, how's this going to work out? Rockies, Royals, Rangers, and Astros. Look at this division. This is a terrible division. Cleveland, Pirates, Orioles, and Nationals. We have another one. Braves, Marlins, Rays, and Nashville. The West Coast I can understand. It's that way anyway. They have the Dodgers, Padres, Giants, and they throw in the Angels. And then with the A's, they put them in with the Diamondbacks, Las Vegas, Portland, and then they have See, I don't know why they have Seattle here. I don't know
Well,
what.
Portland would be with Seattle, obviously.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know what they
John,
do.
just
It might
just
be
destroying the history of the game by they've destroyed it to this point, and they just keep going. I just don't get it. The game is not broke. Things like the one, the pitch clock, that was desperately needed.
right.
Automated strike zone should be coming. That's what he should be focusing on. But John, just the idea of taking away the opportunity for the Mets and the Yankees to play in the World Series
It's
for
ridiculous.
the tri-state area is a travesty, John. It is a travesty. I'm sorry. I just cannot believe that.
Well,
How is this
today,
guy the boss? I just don't get it.
today, the Athletic, or I think it was yesterday, uh, someone wrote about this, and so he made the whatever the 4 teams per division. The only thing that he has is he kept everything basically the same, except they moved the Rockies to the American League, and they moved, I believe it was.
What do you mean? You just said the Mets and the Yankees and the Red Sox. They're
No,
all.
no, no. That's from Manfred. I'm
Oh,
talking about there was an article in the
okay,
Athletic
okay.
where the reporter decided to make his own list, which this makes a lot more sense. So they
What do you?
have Orioles, Red Sox, Yankees, Blue Jays. Makes sense. You have Mets, Phillies, Pirates, Nationals. That's one division. You have Braves, Marlins, Tampa. Tampa Bay actually goes into the National League along with the Nashville team. So, in other words, the Rockies go to the American League. Tampa Bay comes to the National League.
All right. Nobody cares about these franchises. But okay, that's good. That's
Then you have Cubs, Reds, Brewers, Cards. That's the way it is right now, pretty much. Um, you have Giants, Padres, Dodgers, D-backs, same, pretty much the same. Rangers, Astros, Royals, and Rangers. That's fine. I'm sorry, Rockies, Astros, Royals, Rangers. And then the Central's the same. White Sox, Guardians, Tigers, Twins. So really, that you can deal with. The only thing is you're switching 2 teams.
that's a tweak. That's a tweak. That's nothing.
Wait, it's
And
nothing.
John,
It's
why
nothing.
go with the eight? So what? So now they're gonna have more playoff teams. They're gonna add more. They're gonna go. I mean, they're
It's
gonna
too long as it
at
is.
least
It's
in
too long as it is.
2 games. And I saw it's like some people argue, oh, the baseball season's amazing because so many teams make the playoffs. You've killed the regular season.
Right.
It's 162 games. All you're waiting for is it for the freaking be over. For like, there's like what 3 or 4 teams that are on the bubble. Of course, the Mets being one of them. But
Well,
anyway, that's enough.
I,
I'm
I
ready.
want to. I actually want to say something
Yes,
about that. So, as a ticket holder for the New York Mets,
I heard the
they
prices are.
sent they sent us
Yeah, there you go.
that you have to pay by September 17th the whole playoffs, including the World Series. Okay, they want people to come up, and I'm not expensive seats of $4,300 for.
Per seat.
No, it's for 2 seats, 4,300.
Okay, 4,300 for 2 seats, and you get how many games is that? It depends on
Well, it depends
how do they
on
count it?
where they are. Yeah, if it's they have it down as 3 home games for the wild card, 3 home games or 4 home games for the next round, another 4 games, and then the World Series. So you're talking about it could be a maximum of 15 games.
Which is probably not. They would have to win the division for that to happen. So they
Yeah,
can't be guard in that happening. Okay.
right, right.
Yeah, John, come on. The people who go to the games, John, it's you're in that all the time, right? It's just you get screwed as somebody who goes to the game because why do people have season tickets? To get playoff tickets, folks. That's why you do it. I mean, you don't have to do it. That's why you do it because you could easily do, buy your single games or a 20 pack, right? Or there's all different things. I guess you get some sort of playoff. But if you want every game, where there's obviously resale in that, you got to pay for the whole freaking season. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's what. Yeah, I saw.
And
What's
by the way, they would like you to renew
for
your
the
season
next year?
tickets for next year on the same day. So if you're a season ticket holder and you want to go to the playoffs, you got to come up with 10 grand. 10 grand. How's that?
John, that's just the world we live in. Entertainment is expensive. Sports is the best entertainment out there, and that's what we love talking about. We do it every 2 weeks. So, folks, in 2 weeks from this time when we're posting, it will be the NFL preview show. I guess we'll give MLB, John. We'll throw you a bone, and maybe we'll mention the MLB this time. But it's predominantly going to be about the NFL.
Yeah.
Can't wait to have Lieutenant Dan on. Hopefully, he will not have any issues and he will be on. So, John, who do you got to thank?
Uh, we'd like to thank our producer, Zach Zubulake, and happy birthday, Mr. Zubulake. And our loyal listeners and viewers, keep the feedback coming. Also, thanks to our community partners, Ronald McDonald House, Kids in Seats, and the Jackie Robinson Foundation. See you in 2 weeks.